question. So first of all, we have is explain the exclusive jurisdiction of revenue courts under Karnataka Land Revenue Act 1964. Okay, so what is the jurisdiction of revenue court which are established under Karnataka Land Revenue Act? So Karnataka Land Revenue Act, Section 24 of this act specifies that revenue officers are to be considered as revenue court for the purpose of this act. Now, who are revenue officers? We saw a detailed list also, right? List of different officers, DCs, assistant deputy commissioners, tehsildar, village accountant, lot more people were there who are considered as revenue officers. Because these revenue officers are given lot of powers and functions, they are considered as revenue courts for the purpose of this legislation. Okay, so a revenue officer not below the rank of tehsildar while exercising powers under this act or any other law for the time being in force to inquire into or decide any question arising for determination between state government and any other person or between parties to any such proceeding will be considered as a revenue court. Okay, so they are been given a lot of powers and functions, and while they are doing an inquiry, they are deciding on a certain question, they are trying to solve a dispute or conflict that is arising in such matters, they would be considered as a revenue court. Then we have exclusive jurisdiction of revenue courts. Okay, so section 24 mentions what revenue courts are, that all these revenue officers, while they are performing their functions, will be considered as revenue courts. Okay, now exclusive jurisdiction of revenue courts under section 61 of the legislation. So section 61 of Karnataka Land Revenue Act 1964 deals with the exclusive jurisdiction of revenue courts and bar of jurisdiction of civil courts. Now, whenever you see that under a legislation, a special court is being established, regular courts will be restricted from deciding those matters. Okay, like you might be remembering Motor Vehicles Act. Okay, under Motor Vehicles Act, if a motor accident claims tribunal is being set up, regular courts will have a bar on their jurisdiction. As in, we should not be approaching the regular civil courts for compensation related matters because a specialized tribunal is being set up. Okay, same ways here also, because a revenue court is established, it will impose a bar on jurisdiction of civil courts. That's why we say exclusive jurisdiction, because revenue court is there, revenue court would have the exclusive jurisdiction, regular civil courts would have a restriction over those matters. A revenue court have jurisdiction to determine, decide, or dispose of any matter which it is empowered to determine, decide, and dispose of. Okay, under this legislation or under any other law or maybe authority given by the government, if they have a power to determine, decide, and dispose of any matter, that power they will exercise. No civil court shall exercise jurisdiction as to any of such matters which is given to the revenue courts. That's why we say it is an exclusive jurisdiction given to revenue courts or given to the revenue officers not below the rank of tehsildar. Okay, is it clear till here?
Yes.
Now, revenue courts to have exclusive jurisdiction to the exclusion of civil courts in matters like, why they have exclusive jurisdiction? Because they are excluding civil courts. Okay, so these are the matters wherein they have that jurisdiction. Claims against the government relating to any property appertaining to any officer or for any service whatsoever. So whatever claims are relating against the government relating to any such property, there this court can have exclusive jurisdiction to decide and determine. Objections, if there are any objections that are arising regarding to the amount or incidence of any assessment of land revenue under this act. So land revenue would be decided that this much of land revenue is to be paid for this classification of land or for this area of land. If there is any objections relating to that, what amount they have asserted, their revenue officers have the right to dispose of the matter. They can take a decision on it. To to the mode of assessment or levy, or to the principle on which such assessment or levy is fixed. How the amount will be calculated, that method or mode, there if some objection is there, that also revenue courts are going to address. Or to the validity or effect of the notification of survey or settlement. If some notification is being issued regarding survey or settlement of land, regarding that also revenue officers will have the authority, right? If they are measuring plots of land, if there some objection has been raised, right? If some notification is being published regarding settlement, there if some problem is there, all these matters revenue officers can take a decision on. Claims connected with or arising out of any proceeding for the realization of land revenue or other demands revocable as arrears of land revenue under this act or any other law for the time being in force. So if there is any claim which is connected with or arising out of proceedings for realization of land revenue, okay, under some case, if court has said that this amount is to be paid by this person, he is not paying it. So what you do is you collect this amount as a land revenue from this person, right? If there some claims are arising, some issues are there, those will be addressed by revenue courts. Claims to set aside on account of irregularity, mistake, or any other ground except fraud, sales of arrears of land revenue. So if any claim is arising, that claims to set aside, that consider it as irregular, set it aside regarding sale of arrears of land revenue, that also will be decided by the revenue officers, or such cases or claims will be disposed of by revenue officer or the revenue court. Claims against the government to be entered in the revenue survey or settlement record or any land record as reliable for the revenue or as superior holder, inferior holder, occupant, mortgage, landlord, or tenant. Okay, if something needs to be added or entered in the revenue survey or settlement records, the records that government will maintain, if there something has to be added, that this person is an occupant, this person is a mortgagee, landlord, like we had mentioned, right, that how a person is owner or how he is having a right on the property, those would be maintained in record of land records, right? This record of rights. So if there some needs to be changed or some claims are there against the government, those also would be entertained by revenue courts. To have any entry made in any record of a revenue survey or settlement. If there is any entry that is to be made which is not being made, there if some person is having a claim that I got interest in this property under so and so transaction, it is not being done, those matters also revenue court is going to entertain. If some changes are there in some entry or if something needs to be omitted, those changes also court will be doing. If there was some case pending wherein a person's right on a property was disputed, right? Might be he was considered as a joint owner under some records, but now court has decided that no, he is the absolute owner. So there may be some changes we need to make, some amendments we need to make in the entry, those also revenue courts are going to entertain. The distribution of land or allotment of land revenue on partition of any estate under this act or any other law for the time being in force. So if there is any distribution of land, allotment of land revenue on partition, if partition has happened, those matters also can be entertained by the revenue court. Then we have claims against the government to hold land wholly or partly free from payment of land revenue. We saw, right, some lands are exempted from land revenue. 2 sets of land we saw, and other things also government can notify. So if there is any plot of land which wholly or partly free from payment of land revenue, if any claim is arising, right, maybe land revenue is collected, a person is saying that it should be free from land revenue, those claims also will be entertained by revenue courts. or to receive payments charged on or payable out of land revenue. So sometimes court will say that this amount is to be, we need to get this amount from this person, he is not paying, get it by way of land revenue. Those matters are also going to be entertained by revenue courts. To set aside any cess or rate payable under the provisions of law for the time being enforced. So whatever payments are to be made to the government, if there is any like claims or anything arising out of that, somebody says that this certain amount is charged from me, I should not be charged this amount, set this aside. Those also are going to be entertained by revenue courts. Respecting the occupation of waste or vacant land belonging to the government. If there is some claims or some rights relating to it, okay, with respect to occupation of waste or vacant land, there is a vacant plot of land or there is some waste plot of land wherein nothing is being done, regarding that occupation living there, regarding that, if any matter is there, that can be entertained by revenue courts as well. Lastly, claims regarding boundaries fixed under this act or under any law for the time being enforced, or to set aside any order passed by a competent officer under any such law with regard to boundary marks or survey marks. So anything that is arising with regard to boundary marks or survey marks, revenue officers are only going and measuring and marking the boundaries, right? So if there is any problem, any issues relating to that, those matters also will be entertained by revenue courts. Okay, is it clear? So a lot of powers and functions are given to them.